So I saw a video on YouTube where Fat Joe went live, and he was talking about the Hip Hop Museum and 50th anniversary. They had the groundbreaking a while back, and everything's about to pop this year. And a lot of the gentlemen that were a part of that museum and the groundbreaking are friends with Afrika Bambaataa.
How many of us have them?
The ones we can depend on. And those people are starting to get flack for being associated with him and the museum. I'm not saying it's in jeopardy, but he's saying he thinks it might go down that road in terms of protests as it relates to Bambaataa's history. We don't need to go down that road,
No,
but
we don't.
We know what that is.
What did David Sterling say?
David Sterling.
Donald Sterling.
Yeah.
He's got AIDS.
But my thing is with that, Fat Joe was not trying to absolve him from, that. But he's also saying that this guy is one of the founders of hip hop. And what's up,
sorry,
man?
I'm just laughing.
See, this is the wrong time to
I'm just
laugh,
laughing
man.
because I heard it in my head. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's all right, man. It's all right.
He's got AIDS.
Hey, when you be messing with cheering and whatnot, then there's no holds barred. I can talk about you till I'm blue in the face.
Actually, yeah, you trash, and we being honest. Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm just saying Fat Joe was not trying to absolve him from that. He was saying, there has to be some sort of line that's drawn because we always let people outside of our culture influence us as it relates to decisions, and him being a forefather in hip hop and all that. He's like, man, he should be mentioned.
I mean, it's I give it to him. It's worth mentioning. And
that was going to be my question. Like, do we mention and just get up out of there, or does he get
we
same
we
type
can talk
of
about his contribution?
Yeah.
Okay,
We can talk about the Zulu Nation.
Okay,
We can talk about how what he was doing, the positive things.
okay.
Look.
So for the record, nobody is saying that he should be like wiped away.
No,
because that's what Fat
no.
Joe was talking about. He's like, there are people that want to see him, completely just
Look, I know a lot of people
disassociated with.
I don't know if you guys saw the We Need to Talk About Bill Cosby documentary.
Yeah, I saw it.
And the thing is, I know there are certain people who are up in arms, that whole crew of people who'll be like, oh, they got to do a hit job and this fake black man, he did, who did it, talking about, oh gosh, I can't remember the guy's name who directed it. But shout out to him because he did a great job. Like the
documentary was fire.
Yeah, the first episode was really about a lot of the great things that Bill Cosby did.
True.
Because you cannot ignore his contributions artistically.
Right.
For whatever you think he did or what he's been accused of and what's been confirmed that he did. He also gave all that money to them colleges. He also put all those people through school.
And give it back.
Are they sending that paper back?
No, of course not.
All right.
And they shouldn't.
Yeah. He also, had the #1 show on TV for 5 years in a row.
You can apply it to
𝐾𝐄𝐿. That was who directed We Need to Talk About Bill Cosby. Well, very well crafted because, like I said, it could have been a hit job on Bill Cosby, but it really wasn't. Now, don't get me wrong. They read him for filth in several places.
Nah, but it was a deep
Filth,
dive.
flying
It was a
filth.
deep dive beyond just trying to drag him for the whole
No,
documentary.
because did you know literally there were no black stunt people in Hollywood until Bill Cosby insisted on it? They used to just
bro, Bill Cosby was
Yeah.
in movies when I watched the documentary that I had no idea about.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, because he had a lot of stuff that didn't work.
But I mean, people pick and choose who they decide that they want to give that pass to.
Yeah.
It's like when we talk about R&B music and what R. Kelly did. R. Kelly gets no play anywhere
True.
based on what he did on the other side of the music.
Right.
Now, he's essentially the same as these other people we're talking about here when it comes to their art. So why
they
do you
took all of R. Kelly's videos off of YouTube.
Yeah. So why do you think it affects some artists different than it does others?
Well, I think it depends on as it relates to the artist. I think who said artist is because Bambaataa. We were just gonna say this versus or comparing him to R. Kelly. You're talking about a all-time great artist versus a founder. Like to me, they're not. I don't look at them the same from a level standpoint. Great artist, great music versus a founder. Like founders are people where it's like, yo, we have to tell them have them there in order to tell the story. Now, you could make an argument and say you can't tell the story of, R&B or whatever without mentioning Kells. And I might not necessarily
That's very true.
argue with you there.
When we talk about 90s R&B and
it's like Barry
to the
Bonds.
present?
It's like Barry Bonds, bro, with the steroids. It's like Barry Bonds, you could make a case for him being the best baseball player I've ever seen, but he can't shake that mug. I don't care how you put it. Like, he's not going to go to the Hall of
Pete Rose,
Fame.
the same.
Pete Rose, another one. Great baseball player. He's not going to the Hall of Fame.
And both of them deserve to be there.
100%. Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer before all that.
Yeah, Barry Bonds, like, say you take 25 home runs off of his, just you retroactively say, okay.
Bro, he's still first ballot.
He still,
ain't even
he still
close.
has more than 500 home runs.
Exactly.
And that automatically gets you into the Hall.
You can't tell the story of baseball without mentioning Barry Bonds.
And you can't take away his defensive numbers.
Facts. Golden Gloves. Like, so it's similar as it relates to that, just in sports and pop culture. But
and plus, he was hitting home runs against pitchers who were on steroids. So to me, it evens itself out.
Yeah.
But Fat Joe is looking at it from a standpoint of this might turn into rallies. It might turn into, people really trying to dig in on all the guys that are associated with the museum that are friends, you know what I'm saying, with Bambaataa, and it might get ugly. He's hoping that it doesn't, but he said he's starting to hear some rumblings. So I don't know, man.
You know what I'm saying? People might feel a certain type of way.
Yeah.
Considering his allegations.
Sure.
And I'm not here to play devil's advocate and
Nope.
say such and such as allegations is worse than his and blah, blah, blah.
Glad you said that.
I mean, he has what is it, a molestation charge or something?
Multiple.
I mean, we're not charges.
Allegations.
I'm sorry. That's
Allegations.
good. Thank you.
Allegations of
Allegedly.
him
Allegedly.
touching.
He hasn't been charged for any of this.
He is
but
not.
No.
He also has not came out and say that he didn't
Nope.
do it, from what I understand.
Yeah.
It's been very quiet on that end.
Super quiet.
So
I mean, also, I think it's because it's so long ago.
man,
it's
shit.
but
ain't
at
no
the same-
statute of limitations on touching the little kid.
I mean,
Well,
but
no, you're
we
right.
know
You're
one
right.
of the people that's beyond famous for mentioning this is my boy that's on YouTube, Hassan Campbell. Like, that's he's someone that actually came out and was like, this is what happened. Like, he's associated with that. So,
See, that's nuts.
but it also goes back to what y'all are saying about actual allegations and stuff that is actually filed. So it's a gray area there, but Fat Joe was just looking at it from a standpoint of, I'm not trying to absolve him for what he's quote unquote or allegedly did, but you gotta have this guy in the story. That was his thing.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
We can't. You can't tell certain stories without. Look, if you start really digging into a lot of folks,
Yeah.
I mean, and they did leave this in the movie of James Brown. As much as we love James Brown, he put his hands on more than one woman.
Yeah.
Okay,
Shoot, a lot of them artists in that time. was
as
putting
much
their
as
hands
we
on
like, we're part of the reason we're never really going. People are like, oh,
I know what you're about to say.
The whole Marvin Gaye.
I know what you're about to say.
We're not going to get his biography because we'd have to, and God bless her, because I think Janice.
Yeah.
We're not going because the Janice years.
Yes.
Is like R. Kelly beta testing.
Yeah.
So
or your local high school, because everybody went to school with somebody that was the same age as Marvin Gaye that was dating juniors and seniors in high school.
look,
That's
let me tell you something.
yeah,
And
you're
the
not
thing is,
capping there
was just so much. I listened to LL Cool J song. It was one of my favorite songs, Big Old Butt.
Oh man.
And there's a part it's the second verse where he's talking about, went to the high school
Yes, sir.
about 3:00,
Yep.
tried to find a cutie, ride much. Now, mind you, LL might have been 19 or 20 at the time,
Yeah, he was of
Maybe.
age.
but still, like,
He wasn't the same age. Everybody know the D boys that was pulling on the parking lot of school on bars and Vogues, coming to take the chicks that you liked from you.
exactly.
While you
They
got
might
on
have
the
had a
bus.
5.0.
Yeah, while
or
you
Jeep
got on
Wrangler.
the bus, you was watching your high school crush get in the car with somebody that was 25 and up.
Devastated.
Look, let me tell you
Absolutely.
something. And the thing
Devastated.
is, the same women, and I'm not trying to cast a spur. We're not going to do that. Try to blame women in accountability. We're not that kind of podcast. But a lot of the same women who are like, man, the R. Kelly, he's this, that, and the third. I was like, well, what about you? I remember you. I remember some older dude bought you a pair of pennies.
Air Maxes.
A pair of pennies. I know exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
mean.
Like there was a time where like you knew all the really fine girls had an older boyfriend.
Yeah, they had Air Maxes and Coogee sweaters and Dooney and Birks.
You'd be like, wait a minute, I know I go work at that mall and try to get this money, and I know I can't afford none of that,
Man.
And I see what you doing.
I got a cousin right now. I ain't gonna say her name, but she used to always tell me, "Well, I got small feet, so it don't even cost that much for somebody to buy me these."
Thing. No, let me stop.
Don't do that. Don't disrespect my family.
I'm not trying to disrespect, but you know
Terry
it
done
don't work
up.
like that. Whether you get a size 8, a size 13.
Terry done disrespected my family reunion T-shirts. Now you talking
Man,
about
you
my
know good and well.
First of all, the family reunion T-shirts you had
once
were
you
terrible.
throw it out there,
it's fair game.
First of all,
it's fair game.
Okay.
You wore that. You wore
That's
that.
the
You
world
wore
we
that.
live in,
You
Lon.
wore that
That's
T-shirt
just the
on the
world.
show.
I did. Terry was like,
didn't know
"Look, it don't even look like Ohio.
Yeah,
it
because
looked like
it was so
Tennessee.
It
Yeah.
looked like Florida."
It was a Tennessee-ass Ohio.
Yeah.
you ever seen like the globe and seen how like Iceland and Greenland are and how small Africa is? That's what your shirt was like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a misinterpretation of Ohio, is what it was.
But long story long, you can't take Bambaataa out of the story of hip hop.
Okay.
You know,
I can dig it. I
mean,
dig it.
just because, like, look, once again, everybody, I can't. You art, not the artist.
No, I agree with what you guys are saying. I feel like when you're telling a story in general, if you can't remove, there's certain people that you can't remove. My only thing is you just have to make sure that you do tell the truth, and we do tell a story.
Keep everything in context.
Yeah, and so I think it's perfectly fine for people to protest it. Perfectly fine if they want to protest it because they don't like it. Yeah, they should be able
Somebody
to do that.
Go in there and throw white paint on his exhibit.
Tough.
But that's just part of it. Like he did that. So like he's going to make people upset, and it's people can be upset at that if they want.
Absolutely.
Is he still?
I agree with
he
that.
still part of the story? Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are people potentially going to get backlash for including him? Yeah, but that's he did what he did, and sure, you probably want to include him in that. But at the same time, you're just going to have to deal with the repercussions of it, and it's it's not. I wouldn't be mad at anybody who wanted to include Bambaataa as a part of the history based upon the historic elements that he did for hip hop culture. But like
I know where you're going.
There's like lines to where you can do, and so once you try to paint him in a type of a way that is outside of his character, then that's where I think you're going to run into issues. But if you're just saying, hey, this is Bambaataa, he was responsible for this, and he was a part of this, and he helped create this, and then you just keep it moving, I think you're good.
Way.
Got you.
Yeah,
I got you. I can dig that.
Have that same energy for Thomas Jefferson. And the
It's
rest
the
of them.
American
Tough.
way.
I mean, like,
Tough.
let's just
That's
keep
why I
it
say
real.
it's the American way.
Tough.
Because, I mean,
So-
literally, when you think about our history, everybody in history from the forefathers on
Right.
was on that BS. Essentially,
There are multiple
you don't hear
examples.
a whole lot about that
Exactly.
stuff, though. But
Well, because they're trying to erase that once
Yeah.
again. I'm not asking for any revisionism
No.
as far as Afrika Bambaataa is concerned.
No.
just tell the
Okay.
truth.
Just let's acknowledge. We can acknowledge how he was there at the beginning. How it's called hip hop because of him.
True.
And if you want to talk about those other things, I understand.
Lon, you said it best when you said, "I'm not mad at anybody that chooses to go against this because that's their right and they have their right to feel a certain way about it." I get it. But I like that you said, within context, you include him and just make sure we understand why he's being included and what he's being included for, and just leave it at that.
Everything's gray, man. Nothing is black and white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing is.
Yeah.
So it's like, even with the R. Kelly stuff, R. Kelly made great music.
True.
His stuff was a little later, and the times were different. You know what I mean? Nobody's still playing African Bambaataa music right now. Nobody's playing his music unless you're
That I
from
know
the
of.
80s. Okay? Those, you might be born in 63 still playing African Bambaataa, but
He might be
nobody's playing Bambaataa like
You
R.
know,
Might
Kelly.
be overseas and breakers and stuff.
Well,
might
that's
have still
true.
used
But
it.
like,
his influence is out
You
there.
gotta understand,
But the actual records, I see what Lon talking about.
No.
you know how
I'm sorry, no.
the transition from the regular part of the night to the point where we're going to slow it down was for years facilitated by the remix to Ignition, and we had to let that go.
Yeah.
Tough.
Zulu Nation was operating for a long time.
Yeah.
Outside of even listening to African
That's a good point.
Bambaataa.
That's
I, mean,
a good
I
point.
remember they had a couple parties here
Yep.
That's
Oh
true.
no, like I know people here who
in
are
the chapter.
in the chapter and was
Yeah.
like, Jay Moore, it's time to get down. And right about the time when I was about to be pretty much offered my invite, so, because Bambaataa was going to come to the Jazz Kitchen,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then we had to be like, nah, we can't do this.
Yeah. No, I'm with y'all, man. Like, I think we're pretty much all in the same accord as it relates to this. But, there were people that were really trying to get at Joe's head and saying that he was trying to wipe
some
away
people just don't like
certain
Fat
stuff.
Joe.
Yeah, that's true. He did say that too. He said if I wanted to be depressed, I'd go on Twitter and just look at my mentions.
Let's just be real. There's a lot of older people who don't get down with the whole quote unquote woke culture, quote unquote modern day, what they would call cancel. We see him in the comments all the time.
You're right.
Like,
Yeah.
You're right.
a lot of these older hip hop heads, from the 80s and before. It's just what it is. It's who y'all are. It's just y'all ride super hard for people even when maybe you shouldn't have. You shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, that's-
like,
Look, there's still
That's
women who
real.
show up and who are putting
Not all
money
of
on
them.
R. Kelly's books.
yeah.
You know
No,
what I'm saying?
100%. 100%.
There are just people who are like, oh, they were out to get him. I was like, if they were out to get him, they'd have got him in 95.
Yo, there's mad
Oh,
videos
he
you can
got
go on
himself.
YouTube and search where people are sitting there for hours upon hours defending R. Kelly. Like, you can go find them. I can pull them up right now.
Yeah, but there are people that eat their hair. So I mean,
But then again,
Oh,
this is the thing, because I start, because you can go down to a rabbit hole. I start looking at paperwork, and I'm like,
Oh,
R.
man.
Kelly is not in jail for anything he did to them kids. That's the crazy thing.
That's tough.
it's irrelevant. But yeah,
He's in jail for,
The boy
he
in jail at the end of the day.
He should be, but that's the crazy thing. He's not in jail for anything he did to those children.
To
Yeah.
Lone's point, though, be in jail.